The site behind me, Farnborough Airport, it's not about people, it is about profit. It's not about growth, it is about greenwashing. Waverley Borough Council has again voted to oppose the expansion. Here's the bit that I think will annoy many of you. The Minister for Aviation. We have made significant strides to decarbonise the aviation sector, which includes the introduction of sustainable aviation fuel.
The carbon emissions of sustainable aviation fuel are higher than fossil fuels. They're not scalable, they cannot meet the demand without increasing deforestation pressure, and they're used simply to expand aviation.
The announcement from the airport a few weeks ago that they had signed a deal to get 10,000 tonnes a year of SAF by 2028. But they say that the plant is already at the airport, which is absolute bullshit. There is no plant making SAF at the airport already. And the company making it is Hydrogen Refinery Limited. The 4 people running the company have no experience in sustainable aviation. It's a complete fabrication. They're saying they're using a plasma electrolyzer system. Well, that works in the lab, but it's never been tested at scale. So it is utter rubbish.
The expansion will significantly increase pollution.
Nitrogen dioxide. That mainly comes from burning plane fuel, a pollutant which is closely linked to asthma and other respiratory conditions. NO2 is actually measured by the airport. One location is at Farnborough College, which I think is down that way, which is downwind, but it's under the flight path. Their reports show that the NO2 average is higher under the flight path than adjacent to it. Young minds are affected by nitrogen dioxide. The risks of asthma and allergies increase. A study shows that aircraft air pollution creates lower rates of educational attainment. Another group of air pollutants are particles. They are produced by fuel gases and react chemically after leaving the engine. That's important because all the regulations are about what comes out of the engine. But what happens is these volatile organic compounds come out and then create particles further away, and that is not legislated for, but they can make up 90% of the particles coming from an airport. Particles, when they're breathed in, can reach the deep lung. If they're small enough, they can get into the tissues and even into the blood, where they can reach all the vital organs, the brain, the kidney, the placenta, even a growing fetus. Very small particles can pass through the eyes. They can reach the brain directly through the nose. Studies show that these particles are linked to dementia, diabetes, strokes and cancers. A study approximated 16,000 premature deaths per year globally from aviation air pollution. A later study revised this figure to 24,000. Nearly all of these deaths were attributed to particles under 2.5 microns, that's called PM2.5. A third of these deaths were attributed to exposures under 20 kilometres from an airport. These particles coming from jet engines are very small, typically smaller than most viruses. They can travel large distances, with a 2024 study recording them 7 kilometres from an airport. The report concluded that airports have the potential to create a high particle number concentration even in a distant residential area. With high exposures to these tiny particles around airports, a Dutch study suggested children suffer more respiratory complaints. A Canadian study showed an increase in brain tumours. An American study found higher risks of brain cancer. Associated health risks are still emerging. There is no opt-out for air pollution. It is imposed upon people so that the most wealthy in our society can simply do what they want.
There isn't even the pretense that economic growth can possibly be the driver. This is purely and simply about the greed of the airport and the convenience of the wealthy, and at the expense of people and planet.
The average number of people on the flight is 2.5. You can actually take your pet along and you can avoid all the inconvenience. This is obscene. It's obscene in a time where people are struggling. It is obscene in a time of a cost of living crisis that money should be poured into the expansion of Farnborough Airport and it is obscene in the time of climate crisis that we should be expanding an airport like Farnborough.